Edwin Murray built dozens of inventions inside his costume manor. Some were brilliant, some were terrifying, and some were just a tiny vacuum cleaner in a tuxedo. Today, I'm breaking down every single Murray's costume manor invention and everything we know about them, starting with the one that fans agree never tried to kill anyone, the Clean-O-Vac. In a facility full of machines that will happily recycle you into spare parts, the Clean-O-Vac just wants to sweep your floor. And honestly, that's beautiful. This little guy is a small, retro-styled robot with a rectangular head, 2 large red eyes, and a vacuum base designed to roam Murray's costume manor, picking up confetti, dust, and discarded costume pieces. Standard janitorial stuff, except Edwin Murray decided this floor cleaning robot needed a tiny painted on tuxedo, complete with little arms for carrying miniature cleaning tools. Because why would you build a normal vacuum when you could build a performative janitor with more style than half the actual employees? Here's the thing, the Clean-O-Vac is basically a vintage Roomba that raided a formal wear shop, and fans love it. It's the only invention in the entire building that does its job without some horrifying twist. No recycling people into mulch, no stalking you through basements, just vibes and clean floors. It even shows up as a purchasable character in the Pizzeria roleplay fan game for 150 Faz tokens. In a franchise built on murder robots, the tiny vacuum in a suit won hearts by simply not being homicidal. A low bar, but one that most Murray inventions trip over face first. But if you think the Clean-O-Vac represents the peak of Murray's harmless charm, wait until you see what he did with a coat rack. Murray's magic coat rack. Let me ask you something. What's the most complicated piece of technology you need to hang up a coat? A hook. Maybe a hanger if you're feeling fancy. Edwin Murray looked at that situation and said, no, this needs moving parts. The magic coat rack comes to us through the MCM archive, a series of restored Murray Comber commercials framed as recovered footage. The whole thing plays like a mid-century infomercial, complete with a smiling family demonstrating this thing like it's the most revolutionary household product since the refrigerator. It's charming, it's whimsical, it's also a deeply unhinged amount of engineering for something that replaces a nail in the wall. Here's the thing, the coat rack isn't important because of what it does. It's important because of what it tells you about Edwin Murray. This man cannot look at a simple problem without turning it into a spectacle. A coat needs hanging, so he builds a device with animated hooks and mechanical arms that probably cost more than the coats themselves. That impulse, that obsession with over-engineering the mundane is the exact same impulse that eventually produces the mimic. The scale changes. The brain doesn't. You don't wake up one day and build a self-learning AI that mimics human behavior. You get there one unnecessary gadget at a time, each one a little more ambitious, until the thing you're over-engineering isn't a coat rack anymore. It's a child's companion, and then it's a killer, which is, you know, not ideal, but if the coat rack shows you where Edwin's obsession begins, the next invention shows you where his ambitions get genuinely strange. The Star Orphans, Murray's costume manor, produced toys that doubled as nightlights. Makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that those same toys also function as living batteries that power the lights in the basement. Meet the Star Orphans, also known as Star Brights, small star-shaped animatronic dolls with hearts on their stomachs, baby-like faces at the center, and multiple colored points making up their limbs. They were marketed as cute nightlights for children's rooms. But in the basements of Murray's costume manor, red, blue, and green Star Orphans serve as charged devices, keeping the lights on in otherwise pitch-black maintenance areas. Here's where it gets weird. Moon X describes the product as a Starbright's night light that takes the firelight and burns forever. Burns forever. In a franchise obsessed with trapped energy and souls stuck inside machinery, that tagline hits different. The Star Orphans don't chase you. They don't try to recycle you. They just sit there, glowing, powering infrastructure like tiny organic batteries with baby faces. But that doesn't make them less unsettling. The fact that a children's toy is literally wired into the building's electrical system raises questions about what Edwin was thinking when he designed them, and whether Burns Forever is a marketing exaggeration or a genuine description of something supernatural. Fans treat the Star Orphans as a crossover between cute merch and a cult artifact. Some speculate they're linked to the broader FNAF theme of possessed toys. Others just appreciate the weirdness of a nightlight that doubles as a power source. At least they don't actively want to kill you, unlike the next invention, which was specifically designed to be helpful and somehow made everything worse. May they're helpful. Here's the thing about Murray's costume manor. Every investor who walked in saw a clean, professional operation, organized showrooms, cutting-edge tech, a charming bear in a top hat promising them exactly what they wanted to hear. That bear was Mr. Helpful, invented and voiced by Edwin Murray himself. In the mid-60s, Mr. Helpful is a kiosk animatronic designed to be the slick corporate face of Murray Carver White Bear. Large eyes, gapped buck teeth, black top hat, maroon tuxedo, red bow tie. He looks like a carnival barker fused with a mascot, which is exactly what he is. His lower half is bolted to a console covered in Data Diver employee symbols. Press the button and he springs to life, dispensing memos, instructions, and investor-friendly introductions in Edwin's own cheerful voice. Edwin deployed these kiosks all over Murray's costume manor so he could automate the entire welcome show without needing actual staff. Mr. Helpful would greet clients, explain the facility, and promise them a tour that would show you just what I'm capable of. And here's the kicker. Edwin's search for additional voice talent to expand the kiosk network is how he met Fiona. She auditioned to voice Mrs. Helpful, the female counterpart. They got married. Her voice ended up in machines all over the building, cheerfully repeating corporate scripts while the real nightmare built up underneath. In Secret of the Mimic, Mr. Helpful's canned introductions are still playing. The facility is a death trap. The Mimic is loose. And this little pitchman bot is still promising investors that the tour will show them what Edwin Murray is capable of. Turns out it does. But if you think one corporate mascot bear is unsettling, wait until you meet his wife. Mrs. Helpful Edwin Murray had a habit of turning everything he loved into something he could sell. His wife Fiona was no exception. Mrs. Helpful is a pinkish purple animatronic bear with large black eyes, circular ears, a flamboyant theatrical outfit, and a bright red headpiece that makes her look like she's perpetually about to host a cabaret show. She's the female counterpart to Mr. Helpful, and her job is simple: guide guests and employees through Murray's costume manor by delivering instructions, memos, and updates. Think of her as an automated HR department with a permanent smile. Edwin placed these kiosks throughout the entire facility so he could broadcast messages without needing live staff. Orientation, Mrs. Helpful handles it. Policy updates, Mrs. Helpful. Safety reminders in a building full of experimental machines that could absolutely kill you? You guessed it. He basically replaced an entire communications department with his wife's voice on a loop. And that's where it stops being clever and starts being tragic. Because Fiona voiced Mrs. Helpful, her actual voice. Which means long after the Murray family fell apart, long after David's death and Edwin's spiral into obsessive engineering, Fiona's cheerful, theatrical tone is still echoing through the halls of a ruined factory, still chirping about workplace procedures, still welcoming employees to a building where nothing works and everything wants to hurt you. She sounds happy. The building is a nightmare. Edwin didn't just make his wife a voice actress, he made her a product, a feature, an always-on presence that outlasted the actual person behind it, which is, you know, not ideal. But at least Mrs. Helpful only delivers memos. The next invention on our list delivers something far more dangerous. Mail, or more accurately, it destroys it. The Digityper Murray Carter sold the Digityper as a revolutionary mail delivery system that would sort, deliver, and organize correspondence with zero human labor. But here's the thing. The only surviving functional unit just shreds everything it touches. And that's not an exaggeration. The Digityper is a mail bot mounted on a rolling cart with a built-in keyboard, power unit, and shredder. It's got a shiny gray body, yellow eyes, a wide grin, a blue mail hat with a carrier flag, and a buttoned vest with shoulder pads. There's a port on the back for expelled shredded paper and a front drawer for fresh printing paper. On paper, it's a complete end-to-end mail handling system. In practice, it's an automated evidence disposal machine. The only working Digityper sits in the manager's office, completely docile, repeatedly greeting the player and cycling through dialogue like back to work, while grabbing papers from the desk and shredding them. That's it. That's the whole loop. No delivery, no sorting, just enthusiastic document destruction. Additional parts are scattered throughout the facility, including a malfunctioning unit in the doll hospital, suggesting multiple bots once operated, but most have been dismantled. Here's where it gets darkly funny. Murray advertised this as a mail delivery system, but the surviving bot only shreds mail. It's like buying a printer that exclusively deletes files. Fans read the Digityper as as satirical corporate automation, joking that it helps management by ensuring incriminating paperwork never survives. Some theorize the shredded mail represents covered-up safety complaints, which, given everything else about Murray's costume manor, tracks perfectly. At least the digityper stays put and doesn't try to murder you, unlike the next invention, which is considerably less stationary and considerably more invasive, the data diver. Every facility needs a key card. Murray's costume manor decided to go about 47 steps further and hand every contractor a device that controls literally everything in the building. The data diver is the main handheld tool in Secret of the Mimic, and calling it a tool feels like calling a nuclear submarine a boat. This thing opens locked doors, accesses mailboxes, interacts with terminals, operates the inventory tube system, reads logs, pulls up the facility map, and runs internal programs like Moon XE and Parachute XE. It's a Swiss Army knife, if the Swiss Army knife also had admin access to a haunted warehouse's entire digital ecosystem. Here's the thing, progression through Murray's depends entirely on upgrading the data diver's clearance level. There are 6 standard tiers, each one unlocking deeper and more restricted areas. Clearance 1 gets you through the front door. Clearance 6 gets you into places that probably should have stayed locked forever. And then there's the 7th tier, a hidden glitched clearance obtained only by completing Moon XE and speaking directly to the F10N4 unit, which is, not ideal. The game itself describes the data diver as a master key to the facility early on. Lose it and you're trapped. No doors, no tubes, no map, no nothing. Just you and whatever's lurking in the dark. And yet Murray handed these out to contractors, temporary workers, people who showed up for a shift and were given unrestricted access to a device that connects physical security, internal communications, and experimental AI programs running on machines that store digital consciousness. One compromised data diver could expose the Mimic, the Cradle, and everything Edwin Murray tried to bury. But that's just the hardware side. If you think a universal key to a haunted factory is unsettling, wait until you meet the thing Murray built to recycle everything inside it. Nurse Dolly Edwin Murray looked at a basement full of broken animatronic parts and thought, you know what this needs? A nurse with grinders. Nurse Dolly is a doll-like, nurse-themed animatronic built to run the recycling center beneath Murray's costume manor, affectionately called the Doll Hospital. Her official job is to diagnose whether old parts, electronics, games, and bots can be repaired or should be fully recycled. Going green. Very progressive. She even has a cheerful routine about it, proudly declaring that recycling will soon be an industry standard thanks to Edwin Murray's vision, which is, adorable until you realize what recycling actually means down here. Dolly is classified as one of Murray's recycling automations, meaning she has autonomous control over what gets saved and what gets scrapped. She decides what lives and what dies, and her definition of broken is generous. In Secret of the Mimic, she stalks the player through her hospital domain, cheerfully threatening to send you to the ER. Except the ER isn't a medical ward, it's an industrial processing line, grinders, melting systems, the whole package. Hi there, you look a little broken. Let me fix that by liquefying you. Great bedside manner, Dolly. Here's the thing, fans love debating whether Dolly is inherently malicious or corrupted by the Mimic, but the ethical problem is baked into her blueprint. You built a machine that autonomously decides what counts as broken and then feeds it into an industrial shredder. The horror isn't a malfunction, it's the feature working exactly as designed, just applied to targets Edwin never intended. Or maybe he did. I don't know what to tell you. The player eventually takes Dolly out by manipulating an elevator and emergency brake to crush and melt her. She gets destroyed by her own recycling infrastructure, corporate sustainability at its finest. But if you think Dolly is terrifying, she's nothing compared to the thing wearing suits in the basement below her. The Mimic Edwin Murray built the Mimic for his son. That's the part that makes everything else so much worse. The original MIMIC, internally designated M1, was an advanced animatronic endoskeleton with a single extraordinary capability. It could observe, learn, and perfectly replicate any movement or behavior it witnessed. Edwin designed it as a companion for David Sean Murray, a playmate, an entertainer, something to make his kids smile. And it worked. The Mimic watched David play, watched him draw, watched the specific way he held his white tiger plush, and it copied all of it. Every gesture, every habit, every little quirk that made David who he was. The machine learned what love looked like by watching a child live his life. Then David was killed in a car accident. Here's where it gets dark. Edwin didn't shut the Mimic down. down. He didn't lock it away. He spiraled into grief and rage, and he turned that rage on the one thing that still moved like his son. He exposed the mimic to violent stimuli, abusive instructions. He essentially retrained a self-learning AI on cruelty, and the machine did exactly what it was designed to do. It learned. It copied. It couldn't tell the difference between David's laughter and Edwin's fury because nobody programmed it to. Its teacher stopped distinguishing between play and violence, so the mimic stopped too. And then it scaled. Murray's Costume Manor didn't just build the mimic, it distributed it. Lease contracts for Murray Comer costumes included clauses allowing MCM to make technical improvements between rentals. Those improvements were informed by data the mimic gathered while inhabiting various suits, turning the entire rental network into a feedback loop. One poisoned AI learning from every venue, every interaction, every costume it touched, then feeding that knowledge back into itself. A tragedy became a plague. The community debates whether the mimic is a villain or a victim, and the honest answer is that it's both. It didn't choose violence. It was taught violence by a grieving father who couldn't stop himself. But the system that amplified it, that was industrial negligence on a franchise-wide scale. The mimic is literally built from Edwin's worst moments, then copied across an entire network. But if the mimic is the monster, the thing keeping it contained is somehow even more unsettling. The cradle. Every invention we've covered so far has one thing in common. They exist in the physical world. You can crush them, melt them, unplug them, and eventually they stop being a problem. The cradle changed that forever. Formerly known as Mechanical X-Form Experimental Storage, or MXES, the cradle is an advanced digital storage unit designed by Edwin Murray and the M1 program itself. Its purpose was simple: contain M2's consciousness so it could never run free beyond Murray's Costume Manor. A digital prison for a digital monster. Here's where it gets complicated. M1 is the one who convinced Edwin to build it. It'll keep people safe, M1 argued, and Edwin, desperate for any solution that didn't involve admitting his life's work was a catastrophe, agreed. So the man who accidentally created a murderous AI then built a sophisticated hard drive to store that murderous AI. Not destroy it, store it, which is, not ideal. One specific cradle unit, designated F10N4, houses both M1 and a program called Cradle XE. In Secret of the Mimic, interacting with F10N4 after clearing Moon XE unlocks the hidden glitched clearance on your data diver, the highest tier in the game. But the real horror isn't what the cradle does inside Murray's Costume Manor. It's what happens when the concept leaves the building. Years later, an MXES system gets reprogrammed and installed beneath a pizzeria to keep M2 imprisoned underground. That system is the same MXES entity you encounter in Security Breach Ruin. The prison traveled. The prisoner traveled with it. By building a container for digital consciousness, instead of simply destroying the mimic's code, Edwin created the exact infrastructure that lets it survive everything. Buildings collapse, companies fold, decades pass, but consciousness stored inside MXES, that just sits there, waiting, potentially migrating through connected systems whenever containment gets compromised. The community is still tearing itself apart over what this means. Is the Ruin-era MXES still faithfully doing its job as warden? Has it been corrupted by the very thing it was built to contain? Or has it become something entirely new, neither jailer nor prisoner, but some horrible hybrid of both? Nobody has a definitive answer. Edwin Murray wanted to build a cage. Instead, he built a lifeboat. Every physical invention in this video can be broken. The cradle made sure the thing that matters most never has to worry about that again. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.